ኢና ናይ ድጋፍ ቃል ተስምዐዮም እሞ ካብ ዝቐፅልና ሓፍትና ሜሮን እስጢፋኖስ ሓፂር ቃል ክትበና ሜሮን እስጢፋኖስ ናብዚኣ ሓሳብ
The case of Eritrean refugees is a human tragedy in the making in the world, and the world is watching quietly. The plight of Eritrean refugees is far from over, even if they manage to run away. Despite a shoot-to-kill policy for escapists, the plight of Eritrean refugees is as what one writer described. Having jumped from a frying pan to the fire, you are then returned to the same place of your departure and thrown back into the frying pan. Why an Eritrean refugee decides to leave his country? Eritrea's extensive detention and torture of its citizens and its policy is prolonged military conscription are causing Why does an Eritrean refugee decide to leave his country? Eritrea's extensive detention and torture of its citizens and its policy of prolonged military conscription are causing Eritreans to flee the country. Arbitrary arrests, torture, appalling detention conditions, disappearances, forced labor, and severe restrictions of freedom of movement and freedom of expression, and warship forces they use to take any desperate measure in search of freedom. Military service is compulsory for all men and women aged 18 to 50. There is no limit of length of service. There is no exemption of conscientious objectors. If you try to flee, you risk the possibility of being shot by Eritrean border guards. The government also punishes your family if you manage to escape or desert from national service, which fines or imprisonments. However, being an Eritrean youth, the only choice you have is either to take the drastic decision to leave your country on these perilous journeys or spend years in trenches facing Ethiopian forces dug in across the border. Out of necessity and survival, it's no wonder that you will decide to undertake perilous journeys in search of a better life. Once you arrive in Sudan, the Rashaida bandits or Sudanese border guards kidnap the clueless refugees and take them as hostages. They would kidnap them under a tight control, tie their hands and legs, tie with chains so that they could not do harm to them. They would then take them to the Sinai desert and sell them to the Bedouins. Once in Sinai, the Bedouins would take the refugees to their scattered and remote houses and would search every part of their bodies, asking them if they have any address book that shows that they have relatives abroad. They would then force them to call their family members abroad or at home and ask them to send money. What kind of torture does it happen in Sinai? Hostages are generally bound for extended periods, deprived of any adequate food, given salty water to drink, and tortured using extreme methods, including electric shocks and branding them, while friends and relatives are obliged to listen via telephone to their screams and pleas for assistance. Women are particularly vulnerable to abuse, including gang rape. The kidnappers ask every hostage line on their back, and they force them to call their families.